Next is question 33. We have deployed a new code called web-test and a service called web-test-svc. Incoming connection to the service are not working. Troubleshoot it and fix it. So it is asking us to create a network policy by the name ingress-to-web-test that allows incoming connection to the service over port 80. Don't delete any of the existing objects or don't alter any of the configuration or objects. So let's just go inside the environment and check what exactly we have here. So this is purely a question about network policy. So I will just get netport. If we see here, there is already one policy defined, and if I say describe this particular policy, name is default-deny-ingress. Basically, as part of this network policy, you can see it is saying all the incoming traffic is not allowed inside the namespace default. So selected ports are isolated in ingress connectivity, and there is no label defined for any of the port selectors. So all the ports are included, allowing specific traffic to all the ports in this namespace. So this is the totally blocked namespace, and we don't really have to say this, but I'm just telling you this is the scenario. I would put the YAML file in description by which you can create such a scenario. Now let's just see how many ports are there. Get ports. You can see 2 ports are there. This is the connect port which we can use to connect to web test service. Or let's just say -o void here. You can see a web test is there, which is actually the port where my service is running, but it is isolated. It has an IP assigned to it. Also, there is a connect port from where we would be testing it. Before we test it, let's just check the service as well, because web test also has a service by which it is connecting. So get svc, and if you see web-test-svc is there, and let's just describe it. So describe svc web-test-svc. As you can see, it is we have type NodePort for this particular policy, and endpoint is, as we can see here, the IP of the port, and port 80 is there. NodePort is 31130. We don't really have to be worried about. We need to ensure that port 80 is able to. We are able to access the port 80 from another, this connect port that we have. So let me just quickly try and connect it. So my service is web-test-svc. exec, and there is a connect port, right? Connect. I need to say -it connect port. This is the connect port I'm using, and then say wget and web, and there is web-test-svc. Okay, we should have kept that. So let me write it again. exec -it connect port and wget web test. So it is able to see the IP, but it is not able to connect to it. And now we need to create a new policy which will allow us to connect to this particular port. In such kind of cases, you can always go here and check for network policies. In the network policies, it is simple. You don't really have to have all the things in it. Only ports are to be defined, and we have just this port 80 to be accessible inside the namespace default. So we don't really have to specify all the information. We can remove rest of the information and just create something like this. So let me just say hello web-yaml. Okay. Let me just say set alias vi and then this is my vi command, and let me just, there is a garbage character that I need to delete. This is something that that you can create from that from the example YAMLs that we have, and here we need to name it according to question. So let me just name it according to question. This is the question. This is the name of the policy as per the question. So let me just create it. Let's say it is ingress to web test. So here you can see that as a selector we are allowing all the ports. We are not specifying port selector specifically with any label. So any port that exists within the default will have this, means it is specific. It is not specific. We are not specifying any specific label or any specific port specific label. It is applicable on total default namespace, and this is ingress type. So we are only specifying ports, and inside the ports TCP port 80 should be available. So I am allowing all incoming connection to port 80 inside namespace. Also, it can be a little bit granular by specifying the port selector and then the label assigned to that particular port, but we are not doing that here. So it is not mentioned in the question. We have created, let's just apply this g apply -f and allow YAML. Okay, we have created this. Let's just run the query again. This is the query g exec it connect port wget and then web-test-svc. This is the second time we are running it. Earlier it was not working. Now let's check what happens now. So as you can see, now my pods are able to give a response back on port 80.